morning today, I've been looking in the tops of the trees to see my little feathered friends, the birds. Did you know that birds have adaptations? Now that can be a big, scary word. You have tuned in to Science Isn't Scary here at the Fayette County Public Library. And I'm Miss Lisa, and I want to show you that the adaptations are not scary. Today we're going to be talking mostly about birds. Now, the word adaptation simply just means specific features that animals or living things have that help them live and survive in the habitat in which they've been placed. And so today we're going to do birds. I love birds, and I brought a couple of my little feathered friends with me today. And I also have some pictures of some birds that are here in Indiana. I was hoping that you might know what they are. Has anybody recognized this bird? This is a bird that is often found near water. It has a big, long beak, and this is what we're going to be talking most about today. Bird beaks are all different, so as we look through these pictures, pay attention to their beaks, because the beaks are specialized for each bird as to where they live and what they eat. This is a great blue heron. Hope that you knew that. All right, look at this guy. This is one that's by my pond. He chitters and chatters. He's so awesome as he flies across the water. Do you know what his name is? If you said kingfisher, you are right. Let's take a look at this guy. Let's put him this way. This is the biggest of the species that we have here in Indiana. This is a special woodpecker. Okay, do you guys know what his name is? He's the pileated woodpecker. He's about 1 foot tall, 12 inches. We have lots of little woodpeckers, but he's the biggest. Now we go to one of the smallest birds that we have in Indiana. Do you guys know what this bird is? If you said hummingbird, you are right. Here in Indiana, we only have one species of hummingbirds, which is the ruby-throated hummingbird. So if you see him, he goes super fast, he buzzes, and he likes to fly backwards too. He's the only bird that can do that. What about this bird, boys and girls? This is a bossy bird. In our backyard, he will take over and scoot other birds out of the way. He has a loud call that might scare you sometimes if you're right up close. This is our blue jay. All right, this is the state bird of Indiana. It's my little feathered friend. Now, a lot of you might call this the red bird. Well, you know what, boys and girls? It has a name. It is the cardinal. So if you see him out and about, use his name. It is a cardinal. What about this little guy? He is so small you can fit several of them in your hand. He says his name, he goes chickadee-dee-dee-dee, chickadee-dee-dee-dee. And so this is our chickadee. Now I just learned recently that the more dee-dee-dees he says, the scareder he is. He feels like he's threatened the more D's he says in his name. If he just says chickadee, then he's a happy little camper, and you can see him, he's there on a thistle. All right, this is a very common bird. We have lots of these here in Indiana. This is a sparrow, and there's several different kinds of sparrows, but we have a lot of them here. If you see a little brown bird hopping around somewhere, there's a good chance it's a sparrow. All right, and then our last bird that I want to talk about is the goldfinch. Right now, if you see them by sunflowers, they're not going to be this bright yellow. This is their summer colors. In the fall and winter, they are a darker brown. So he is going to change his colors. He will sort of camouflage himself with the winter foliage that's out there. All right, so we've talked about the names of these birds, and I hope that you've looked at the beaks as we've gone through them, because the beaks were all different. And I have some tools here today that are going to sort of show you what it's like for a bird to have different kinds of beaks. This is just a simple kitchen tong, but doesn't it look like the great blue heron's mouth? Okay, so you can see here that it eats fish. The kingfisher has a sort of a tongy mouth too. It's just not near as long as the great blue heron. Over here on my table, I have 5 bowls of different items that are supposed to represent the different food that birds eat. Some birds eat teeny tiny insects. Some birds eat fish and crawdads. Some birds love all kinds of nuts, peanuts, acorns, hickory nuts, sunflower seeds, okay, all kinds of nuts. Other birds like those medium insects, the ones that fly, like dragonflies and butterflies. And some birds love just the flowers, the nectar that comes into the flower. So what we're going to do today is show you how different beaks like different types of food. So with the great blue heron, when he wants to eat, do you think he wants to eat a big scoopful of insects? Well, I mean, he could do it, right? But he's such a big bird that it would never get full. What about this fish and the crawdad? Oh, look, he could eat several of those at a time, and that's exactly what he likes to eat most of all. Now, the great blue heron could grab a peanut, but is his beak strong enough to crack it to get to the nut on the inside? Well, the answer is no. So he's not going to be one to eat seeds. He could also eat those flying insects, but boy, would he have to eat a lot of them. The nectar, well, that's just not going to work, okay? That is not going to fill his belly at all. Great blue herons have a beak like this, so they can eat the fish and the crawdads. All right, let's look at our next bird that I had talked about, and this is the woodpecker. Now, I've got some chopsticks, because you know what a woodpecker does? He goes pound, 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 pound. You may have heard them when you're out walking in the woods. What he's doing, and he's digging into the bark of the tree to dig out those insects. And so he will eat some of the tinier insects. Once he's pound them out, he'll use his big sticky tongue to lick them up. Would he ever eat a fish? Well, he might be able to, and I'm not going to be very good at this. He might be able to get one in his beak, but his mouth is too little to eat those critters, so that is not a good food for him. Seeds he would eat because, yes, he can pick it up and squish it, so sometimes seeds would be good for him. But his favorite are those mid-sized insects. Because you know what he can do? He can pound, 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 and look at all those insects he can eat. And that would help fill up his belly. With nectar, would he want to try to go to a flower? It's not going to help him at all, is it? And so a woodpecker has a beak that likes to dig down into the trees and the bark. Look at our sweet little hummingbird. This is a very different beak than all the rest of them. And I have a little pipette right here, a little medicine dropper, that's going to stimulate the bird's beak. So, a hummingbird, is it going to want to eat insects? Oh, no way. Could he eat fish? No way. What about seeds? Can he suck one of those up? No. Flying insects? No. The hummingbird uses a beak and he goes to the flowers and he sucks up the nectar. Isn't that awesome? His beak is adapted to so that he can eat what he's meant to eat, okay, which is the nectar. Our last type that we're going to do is all the rest of these birds, okay? Our chickadees, our goldfinch, our sparrows, our cardinals, they all have, if you look at them, little triangular beaks. Some of them are a little sharper than others, but they're all sort of like this clothespin that I have. Okay, so they open and close, and they've got a strong, powerful jaw to crack open nuts because that's what they like the most. Now let's go over here and see. Will a cardinal or a goldfinch eat insects? Well, yes, of course, they could eat some insects, and that's going to be fine. Is there any way they could eat fish? There's no way. Their little tiny triangular beaks are not going to eat those fish or crawdads or any of those bigger pond critters that blue heron eats. What about the nuts? Oh, yes. They can get in there and grab those sunflower seeds. That's a special favorite food of the goldfinch. Where the blue jay might eat a little bit of a bigger nut, but they can still grab it and squish down hard and break open that shell to eat the meat that's on the inside. What about flying insects? Well, yeah, sure, they can grab a butterfly or a dragonfly if they wanted to, but their favorite food is those nuts. What about nectar? Yeah, that's not going to help that cardinal or goldfinch any, is it? This beak is especially designed to help it eat what it likes the most. Isn't that pretty cool? Birds are adapted, their beaks in particularly, are adapted to eat the food that they like the most. Isn't that cool, boys and girls? Science isn't scary, it's just awesome. I hope you liked this little demonstration today about bird adaptation. Come see me again next Tuesday at 2:30 for another cool demonstration to show you that science is not scary.